feel like I should say good evening, like a serious journalist or an anchor person now, you know? Like, it just, everything's so heavy, it feels weird to be super bubbly, even though I feel that it's important to not let ourselves be completely engulfed in the abyss. We have to, this is when we practice how we maintain that paradox of holding sorrow in one hand and joy in another. So I am happy that you're here. I'm happy to have this time with you. I'm grateful to have this time with you. And yeah, this is our weekend reflection message. We are entering into Shabbat. Sacred, holy time. And it is a heavy time. Shabbat is a time of protection and peace and union with God. And so I wanted to come on and make sure to make our video because my sister's going to come over and we're going to sit together and have dinner. But I just wanted to make our video today, and it's so interesting. I'm going to read from the booklet for our Radiant Sun Oracle cards because it is just like striking how accurate it is speaking to the grand stage right now. Another prayer request that I found today was interesting. I think it correlated with a moment where a friend of mine innocently had sent me a video, and I kind of laughed at it, but then my spirit challenged me, and it was like, you don't really think this is funny, and this is actually highlighting a core societal sickness right now that you should be honest about. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that pain in the ass all the time. But something told me, was like, no, it's important, it's important to say something. This is how you can tell when it's when you should restrict or what the restriction is, right? If you don't want to pop off and clap back and you're like, I don't want to go there, but it's important, that's when you're supposed to say something. When you're like, I'm going to say this and this and this, that's when you're supposed to pull back. So I was like, fuck. So I said the truth just as most compassionately as I could, and acknowledged that this person did not mean to come off this way, and I don't even want to bring it up, but I feel that it's important that I should, for some reason. And they were so open and receptive, and it was just a very heartening moment of knowing how I needed to navigate that carefully in order to not do damage or hurt someone's feelings or immediately cause defensiveness or separation. It was a difficult and hairy situation to navigate, but it felt like it actually opened a conversation that was enlightening for both of us, and a really good opportunity to share consciousness, and that could have turned into an argument, and it didn't. So that was really interesting. And so it was right after that, it was the next morning, I had this YouTube video suggested to me about how 2025, the algorithm is changing in the YouTube preferences, and they're trying to push small channels. Can you believe this? Because they think that they'll have more ad money that way. You guys, this is what I've been saying. I'm like, if I can just get to that that monetization level, I think they'll really push my channel. And so that was very heartening. And through that, I ended up in a going down a rabbit hole of finding out that some of my keywords in my settings, I could go back and review those, and I updated my search engine optimization, so I'm hoping that that's going to make a significant improvement. But I can't help but think that they were directly connected. So I'm using that as an example to show you how when we face our fears and we follow what we're led to do, it's like it opens up other things that seem unrelated. So I thought that was really interesting. And, I told you guys that my mom had better experiences with her physical ailment the last several days too. So I'm very excited about that. But that's just goes to show that the power of prayer and praying to God and really being consistent with it and doing it in a certain consciousness really does open the gates of heaven. So just thankful to God for that. And I thought that might be a hopeful thing to hear, especially if you feel like miracles are few and far between. They are not their natural state, but it's like we have to learn kind of how to tap into them again. So for our weekend reflection message, you can actually go to my Instagram account and see the written post with the photograph, or you can go to the community tab and you can see it all there. I put my post there and the videos there. But in the description box below, I will have the text from that post, and I think that it is valuable to read that because it kind of hits it from another angle, but I think it's poignant to read it. So I would suggest you guys read that and invite you to read that today. But first we have, so from the Radiant Sun Oracle, we've got Jupiter in Sagittarius, which is principle. Followed by generosity. Followed by charity. And generosity is Saturn in Leo. And charity is Saturn in Cancer. And so we've had these recently, the generosity and the charity card coming up. So I think that's interesting, and we're going to go back and revisit that imagery as well, because I think it's not even a little bit coincidental. So underneath principle, we have the Two of Pentacles, which the Two of Pentacles was our card for our short today. You can see that also on this channel. And you can see the extended version of that short on my TikTok channel, which is Liz_Taylor_magic, same as Instagram. So we've got Two of Pentacles underneath principle. And we have generosity crowning the Page of Wands. So Page of Wands underneath generosity. And underneath charity, we have Five of Pentacles. So before I read the principle card from the Radiant Sun Oracle, I'm going to go into my general overview of this, and then I'll break it down and I'll read the cards probably last. So we have principle here with Two of Pentacles. And we see right now that, do you see this hat here? It's like the popal sign of religious leadership and power, right? And we have this kind of dunce here, kind of playing this a game of weighing, right? These two objects, trying to balance right on one foot. It's a challenging situation, a balancing act we find ourselves in. You could even say that we need to really be careful and really reevaluate and hold on to our principles as we hold on to our system of checks and balances. And we weigh every scenario and circumstance at this point on against our consciousness, against our own conscience, against our ethics, our principles, our values, our spiritual laws, and our true it's not even safe to say religious beliefs anymore, but the true teachings of our Messiah, right? And our prophets and our sages. So we have to abide by our true core values and our greater principles, and it's like we don't even have an option anymore in this new timeline. We have to show up as our higher selves. It is required now. If you look at Dolores Cannon's prophecies about like going into another dimension where the old earth is left behind and the new earth kind of appears, and it's like we're in these like higher vibrational bodies, and the ascension symptoms have been happening. It's like, oh my god, that's so crazy, because I never really watched anything about Dolores Cannon, but as I listen to her prophecies, I'm like, this is exactly what we've all been learning and talking about the new timelines, right? And she talks about aliens and other, intergalactic beings showing up to watch this happen because it's unprecedented. So right now there's so much happening as far as like trying to balance like what is going on, trying to maintain balance within ourselves and in our outer reality, trying to hold on to the values and the core principles that we stand on, as a nation, as humankind, as Christians and as Jews and as Muslims and as Buddhists and Hindus and all the religions of the world, indigenous religions and peoples. Like, it's like we all share these core like fruits of the spirit, and so we have to check everything now by that criteria and make sure that we're in integrity with that. We also have to be able to hold a paradox of being able to be in sorrow and in joy at the same time, because we have to at once be able to witness what is happening and have this holy vision of sorrow at the state of the world and what it could be and what it actually is right now, and also hold on to a deep sense of certainty and joy and peace, because that is how we are sheltered by the Shina, the soul of the world, the Holy Spirit, the divine protection and providence of God. So, and that providence, by the way, that aspect, the Shina, that is a feminine aspect of the great unmentionable name, the unknowable, abstract. So we have this, balance to maintain, and each individual person, our own consciousness, our own transformation, our own awakening, our own journey through the stations of the cross, through self-sacrifice, through Christ consciousness is actually affecting the scales, the cosmic scales right now. So everything that we are doing and what we are becoming and our seed level of consciousness and what is in our hearts is affecting the balance of light and dark right now. So it is very, very, very vital that we maintain love, that we avoid becoming what we don't want to be, right? Judge not lest you be judged. As a nation, we have been infiltrated with like this imagery of joining up against our enemy and demonizing our enemy, and now it's like the very bandwagon leaders of that message, it's like they are taking on the very characteristics of what we have been taught to judge and to go after. And so we see now that that's how history repeats itself, and that there's got to be another way. And that's why when Jesus came, people expected him to be this warmonger, this fighter, this revolutionary, and he wasn't. He was a pacifist. He was a prince of peace, a prince of not excluding the other people, but actually going after the other people, bringing them in, opening up this world to the others, because they were the first to accept him. So it's about inclusivity, and it's about kindness and sharing. And, so many places in the Bible, Old Testament and New, talk about being kind to the stranger, to the foreigner, to the widow, to the orphan, to the disenfranchised and powerless and poor, and leaving a corner of your field for them. And there are other verses that say, when I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. And when I was thirsty, you gave me water. And when I needed clothing, you gave me clothing and you sheltered me. And everything that we do unto him. And so it's not everything that we do to our neighbor, it's as if we're doing that to God, to Christ himself. So even if we're tempted into this anger that divides, we have to use that anger to go into unification and to love our neighbor. And if we fall into the darkness of hatred, then we lose our vibrational sovereignty. So we have generosity here with Page of Pentacles. We see this battle between, okay, what is really Christ's message? Because we've seen it be misused and hijacked for, an agenda for hundreds of years, thousands of years now. And so we have to get beyond the established organization's, agenda and message, and look into what were Jesus's words, what were Jesus's actions. In the generosity card, we've got the righteous soul here, the prophet speaking and presiding over and looking over this other teacher who's been divinely inspired by that teaching, and they're sharing it with others. We have the Page of Wands here, this enthusiastic, youthful invigoration of spirit to go out and share this message and become a greater vessel for the Creator, a greater ambassador for the Creator, that it's more important than ever that the people who have pure hearts go out and declare that message, and do it in a way that is pure and desecrated and undefiled. We learn in Hanukkah that the symbolism of the oils being defiled, it's that the oil separates itself from other substances that you try to mix it with. It stays pure, it separates itself. And they didn't want that. They didn't want to destroy the Jewish faith. They wanted to water it down so that even a person who wanted to worship in a pure way wouldn't be able to, because the wisdom would have been lost. The message would have been lost and reappropriated. So it's so important now that we tune into our hearts and we understand the true meaning of Christ consciousness and self-sacrifice, and the real message of Christ Christianity, and what the Messiah is and what it means to be redeemed. And to be careful about when people are using that message, to be able to read and listen in between the lines, because the dark one will use that message and misappropriate it as well, because he wants you to think that that's him, So the Page of Wands can also stand for something that's been like an upsetting message. And so today we're getting a lot of upsetting messages, right? And we see, just like, look at this figure here. I can't help but think of, in the news right now, Bishop Bud, is it Bud or Bood? Bud's sermon about mercy and kindness and spiritual generosity has sparked such controversy and and conversation today. And what's interesting is that the people who call themselves these, conservative Christians are outraged by her and even, wishing her dead and things. And you're just like, that's not Christ-like at all. It's crazy. And all she was doing was asking everything that Jesus asked of us, and so it's amazing to watch this. But what's even more amazing is, just like when Jesus tried to bring his message to the people of his time, it was rejected by the conservative church, but it were the pagans and the Greeks and other people that actually showed up and started listening and taking this on and adopting this, and the Gentiles. And they were like, I can't believe you're sharing this with them. And it's like, well, they're the ones that are open and believing. Well, today, as much as I heard the scary things on the internet, I saw all these agnostics and atheists and pagans and people that had been completely alienated by the church coming forward and saying, this is actually renewing my faith and renewing my belief, seeing this bishop, say these things and defend Jesus in this way. And so that is what I want to take away from that. And then we have Saturn in Cancer, and we have 5 of Pentacles right here. If you look at this card, you see that this woman has her children and she's leaving this big established institution here. This is literally immigrants running away from their churches and schools and jobs and places where they need to be in society, because they are afraid of deportation and having their family broken apart. And so people are even if they're at their home right now, they don't feel at home, they don't feel secure, there's no stability, their sense of stability has been uprooted. And so, and look here, like the 5 of Pentacles is being, in spiritual and literal poverty, and this person is being left out in the cold. So right now we're witnessing a famine of spiritual poverty that has led to putting people out in the cold, where they're being exiled and betrayed and abandoned, and they're innocent. Many of them are innocent people and innocent children. So we have to be charitable and compassionate, because judge not lest you be judged. God forbid, we see this day, in these situations that these people are facing right now. So pray for them and, do what you can to add goodness and love and fellowship in this world in any way you can. Lend your expertise, lend your insight, lend your knowledge to people right now who may need it. All right, so I'm going to read Principle. Okay, this is directly from the book. I think that this is pretty crazy. Ruins represent the establishment of earlier times. Ruins represent the establishment of other times. The past that we have known, that we've been comfortable in, it's in ruins. That former timeline, everything that we used to know, that security at the very least has been shaken to its core. And what we feared most has shown up on our soil. And a lot of us were dreading this, and we were trying to forewarn that this was what we dreaded, was what we were headed straight towards. So ruins represent the establishment of earlier times. the mitre is a symbol of spiritual power across centuries and countries. The constellation Noah's Dove, with its prominent star fact, is ascribed to the nature of Jupiter and Saturn by Ptolemy. So a personal horoscope attached to this card is with Jupiter in its own sign of Sagittarius, we see the perfect combination of planet and sign. For lucky people with this aspect, the most satisfying way to enrich life is through broad, adventurous travel, both physically and mentally. Studying or living for a period within another culture is fulfilling for people described by this card. And before I go on to the second half of that statement, people who are here right now from other places who are like on fun work visas, like I would be nervous. I would be not feeling like this was very fun anymore, honestly. So studying or living for a period within another culture is fulfilling for people described by this card, and a major philosophy or religion will form an important part of life, although this may manifest as psychology or politics. I'm going to say that again. A major philosophy or religion will form an important part of life, although this may manifest as psychology or politics. Both psychology, politics, and religion, all of them are being manipulated right now. And it could be very drastic, its influence on our day-to-day life and our culture. Jupiter Sagittarians can also be concerned with publishing, lecturing, and teaching, but always connected with a strong set of ethics. These interests produce far-sightedness that can manifest as seeing into the future, prophetic insight, Jupiter Sagittarians have a strong desire to acquire as much education as possible and take advantage of opportunities for involvement in mature studies, which can lead on to distinguished achievements. So I think right now, too, it may be good to look deeper into your own spiritual beliefs and philosophies, and study some of those deeper principles. They are also, however, susceptible to involvement in extremist religious or philosophical beliefs. On the negative side, it is possible that people with this planet sign combination may seek to impose their concepts on those around them. To the extent that they develop a self-righteous attitude that rides roughshod over others' views. When this card appears in a reading, it will raise a matter of principle or life philosophy that is particularly related to the question. Planning a grand tour or world trip, being completely immersed in a new philosophy or religion, conversion, the need to persuade others of philosophy. So, as I was saying before, it is very important that we check in with our consciousness and our spirit, and it's very important that we are true to that right now, that we maintain integrity in our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Okay, so generosity. An enthusiastic speaker addresses a large gathering, passing on the words of a great prophet of the past. The image of this prophet sits above as an inspiration for the performance of the speaker. So think about that in terms of what we just saw on the grand world stage playing out, over the last, 2 days, 1.5 days. An enthusiastic speaker addresses a large gathering, passing on the words of a great prophet of the past, passing on Jesus's words to a great crowd of people watching. A great prophet of the past. The image of the prophet sits above as an inspiration for the performance of the speaker. So a divinely inspired word delivered to a large audience. A prophecy. Delivered before a large stage. A speaker divinely inspired by their prophet. So a personal Saturn, personal reading for this. Saturn Leos are strongly driven to use their tenacity and self-discipline and showy generosity that leads towards recognition and a better position in life. Generally, their ambition, which has behind it possibility of artistic potential, will seek some kind of showy creative outlet, and they can be successful professionally in entertainment, management, creative, or educational roles. Saturn Lions are best when not guarding their creative talents. So not guarding your creative talents. Right now, I feel there's a lot of people talking about like leaving Meta. A lot of the good artists and unique free spirits are trying to exit the platform. But we need your voice. We need your light. We can't shy away. Don't take your light away from where we need it. People need your gifts. They need the artists during these times to express through the art, through the symbolism, So Saturn Lions are best when not guarding their creative talents. People with this planet sign combination need to gain the respect and even admiration of others. There's a danger that this can push them into overbearing behavior or into approval seeking. So right now, you see a lot of people putting a criticism out and pressure on, certain individuals that's causing them to lash out very reactively. And, it shows a lot about them, but it's like, their impulsivity is unpredictable. So, be careful of your need to fit in or to impress others right now, because that's silencing your inner truth, your authenticity is dangerous. We need to stay connected to the truth. That's why I told my friend what I really thought about that video, even though it seemed like, oh, why am I bringing this up? It's important that we hold true to that, and we're not just sweeping it under the rug or turning a blind eye or laughing it off, So if we are so concerned if other people like us or approve of us, then we're going to go along when the loudest, most pushy person in the room is trying to get us to go along with something that we don't believe in or we don't align with, right? We have to be able to, in those moments, say what we really think. I remember waiting on a table a few months back where it was like this party of 13 people or 14 people. It was like 7 couples. And some of the couples at the table were of different political leaning, and one person was very staunch in their opinions and in their beliefs, and they were talking about how they were controlling how their spouse was dating, and they were riding roughshod over the other people at the table. And there was this pretty timid, kind of passive man. Him and his wife were maybe not, they didn't fit in with the rest of the people at the table. But he said, he stood up for what he believed in and what he thought. And that guy, I kept trying to bully him and get him to back down. And this man kept gently holding his place. He's very gentle and he wasn't pushy, but he stood his ground, and I was really impressed. And I didn't think that he seemed like he had the courage just reading his energy. And I think that was a big stretch for him and a huge moment, but I think it was impactful. So the need to gain the respect and even admiration of others, but there's a danger in this that can push them into overbearing behavior or into approval seeking. Alternatively, they may have a tendency to be wary of expressing feelings or views until quite sure of the reception, which can lead to missed opportunities. So in other words, as well, right now, people are gonna be afraid to say what they really think, and that's how things get out of control. That's how things have happened before in the past that we wouldn't want repeated again. It was by complacency and by silence. And so, we have to be in our authentic truth. You guys remember the weekly energy oracle forecast? This week it was like double emphasis on love. It was like the love card came up twice. It was like voice, like speaking, voice, so important. And I see how it's come up to be so important this week. More so than we ever imagined, right? We just thought we were supposed to speak up for ourselves in our own little personal, petty soap operas and sagas. So much greater things at stake right now, rather than me. This card indicates the possibility of a romantic involvement with someone much older or more experienced. Negatively, people with this aspect may need to deal with disappointment in a creative or matters of love. This is made easier when they bring themselves to reach out for help from others in relationships. So I think it can also be, when my sister reached out today about dinner, I was almost too depressed and I wanted to isolate, but I thought, this is not the time to isolate at all. We can't, go inward and draw in, even though it might be tempting. I am an introvert and I'm an empath, and this is all a lot. But this is where we need to be physicalized in this realm, and not float off into the easier realms, but to be here where we were put to be courageous and to be of service in this time. This is made easier when they bring themselves to reach out for help from others. In relationships, Saturn Leos have a certain reserved, suffering in seclusion quality that is not helpful. So don't suffer in silence, don't suffer in seclusion. Connect, reach out. When Saturn in Leo is drawn, the subject of the reading has much creative joy to share. If this is offered with no strings attached, the chances of successful outcome are assured. So light workers and light bringers and artists and creatives, your joy is healing. Comedians, we need you right now to be showing up to work, because your joy is helping to keep the life support going right now, and to keep a channel for the light, and to keep beauty and joy and spontaneity and free-spiritedness alive. So we need you to be out there and putting your work out and sharing and not hiding, not isolating, not going into the echo chambers. When Saturn in Leo is drawn, the subject of the reading has much creative joy to share. And if this is offered with no strings attached, the chances of successful outcome are assured. An opportunity to shine. Being asked to perform for a good cause. Teaching creative skills to those less talented. Helping with education of children. And then let's read the charity card. A mother with her 2 children moves protectively away from a large, impressive, but severe building. In the sky, angels reach out in sympathy for the 3 figures. People with Saturn in the sign of Cancer show responsibility and self-discipline where family matters are concerned. Often this planet sign combination indicates people whose own early environment may have been harsh or severe and who still may have the emotional scars. So look at all the ways children have been traumatized just in the last 2 to 3 days. There was a school shooting here in Nashville a couple of days ago. A girl died, a Latino girl. The children that are being taken from their schools and their churches right now, just like before when the children were separated from their parents and were in those places, like the damage is permanent. Can you imagine the terror and the helplessness and what they're being exposed to? I was arrested once when I was having a migraine, but just the experience of going through arrest and being in that like cold, harsh building and environment, and it in and of itself was terrifying. So we need to pray for the children and the mothers and the families that are being affected by this and being torn apart by this, and who are terrified about this happening. For this reason, it is more than usually important that the people with this card described improve their own family circumstances. Although real home comforts and security are likely to come later in life, there will be periods during which that Saturn Cancerians feel emotionally isolated from family, or may have to take on extra responsibility. Whatever this may be, they take family and social responsibility seriously, valuing stability and security. Negatively, however, this can produce over-possessiveness toward material things and loved ones. Conscious work in caring for or helping others will prove fulfilling throughout life for the Saturn Cancerian. Often this planet sign combination indicates the need for much hard work to keep up required standards of security and comfort. So I want to read that again. It might require a lot of hard work to keep up required standards of security and comfort. So it might be a lot of extra work and a lot of bureaucratic red tape to deal with. Nevertheless, feelings are hidden from public view to maintain dignity. Saturn Cancer people suffer conflicting moods that manifest as difficulty in expressing feelings for fear of losing dignity. When this card is revealed in a reading, it can indicate a struggle to maintain family or home security. It can indicate a struggle to maintain family or home security. It may involve accepting reluctantly the material assistance of an institution. Events, work for charity or institution, a responsible post in which one is rewarded for good works, rewards for social work, foster parenting. All right, y'all. How on the money was that? So I think that's pretty wild, and I think that's a lot to think about over the weekend. We will be back tomorrow for our Saturday night secret sermon. This is our weekly segment entitled Secret Teachings of Jesus, where I delve into the Gnostic Gospels. And until then, my prayers are with you, and let us all pray in unison and as one that people are protected, that this country is protected, and that God has mercy on us all. Amen.